In the previous video we looked at booking our trip, the procedure for taking your dog from the UK to the EU and travelling with Stena Line from Harwich to the Hook of Holland in a pet-friendly cabin. In this video we will look at the procedure to follow before returning to the UK with your dog and what it's like travelling to Dover aboard P&O Ferries using the Pet Lounge. Whether your dog has a UK Animal Health Certificate or an EU Pet Passport, the procedure is the same. If you are arriving into the UK by ferry from an EU country other than Ireland, you need to have your dog wormed by a vet and the relevant section of the paperwork signed and stamped. This can only be done between 24 and 120 hours before arrival into the UK, so you cannot have it done on your day of departure. For the UK resident, finding a vet and making an appointment at the right time can be a challenge, but I've always managed to find one either by an internet search or by recommendations of friends. In this particular case, it was my Belgian partner who found a lovely vet in the Belgian town of Calais. A few weeks before travel, I made an appointment for 2 days before our return ferry crossing. The vet administered the worming medication with my help, and she signed and stamped the relevant section of our Animal Health Certificate. It was altogether very straightforward. On the day of travel to the UK, we left Belgium in the sunshine, but arrived in Calais to the grey and rain. If you're driving to Calais ferry port from Belgium, be aware that the slip road off the A16 is rather short and easily missed. As you make the final approach to the port, cars and motorhomes need to take lane 3, which feels rather weird when you've been driving on the right for a week or two. Approaching Calais port, you first stop at the check-in booths, with P&O's check-in being to the left-hand side. On this busy Sunday afternoon, it was disappointing to see only 2 booths were open for P&O, so we queued for about 15 minutes. Unlike Eurotunnel, where your dog is scanned before check-in, here in Calais your dog is scanned at check-in, just like it was on our outward journey from Harwich. Therefore, have your booking reference, passports and doggy paperwork handy before you arrive at the check-in booth. Just like at Harwich, I was asked to scan each dog in turn as the papers were checked. I did pity those waiting behind me as I spent a good 5 minutes at the booth, but the agent was pleasant and helpful. Next stop was French immigration for exit checks. Then it was on to security. And the final check was UK Border Force for UK immigration checks. And yes, I did get out of my car to chat with the airstreamers in front while we waited. The UK Border Force agent was not interested in the dogs, he only wanted to see my passport. Finally, we reached the boarding lanes 45 minutes after arriving at check-in. Even if you're travelling with P&O, you can visit the duty-free shop and cafe in the adjacent car park, which is operated by DFDS, just as long as you take your boarding card with you. I checked the prices of 3 spirits for a later comparison with those on board. Next to the shop and cafe is the doggy area with poo bags, a doggy loo area and a fresh water tap. There was another doggy comfort area next to the toilets at the end of the car park lanes furthest from the boarding ramps. Oh my, it looks like it's going to be a busy crossing. And I'm sure it's the law that there has to be at least one coach of teenagers on every ferry between Dover and Calais. On this particular ferry there are set to be about 6 coaches. Boarding started promptly about 40 minutes before departure, and you need to have your boarding pass handy to give to the agent as you board. Today we're travelling aboard the P&O Liberté, the newest and most advanced ferry on the channel. Like its twin sister, the P&O Pioneer, the P&O Liberté is a hybrid ferry, propelled by motors rather than engines, and is double-ended to prevent the need to turn around in port. If you're interested in the technicalities of these groundbreaking ships, please see my video from my press trip aboard the MV Pioneer, of which there is a link in the description below. As the ferry does not turn around, the Pet Lounge is always at the Calais end of the ship, so I was a little perturbed to be waved through right to the Dover end of the ship to park up, despite my pet sticker in the windscreen. For safety reasons, I chose to walk the length of the ship back to the Pet Lounge upstairs in the passenger areas rather than on the car deck with all the moving traffic. The Pet Lounge itself is bookable at a supplement of £12 per person, and my ticket was checked by a crew member upon arrival. The name Pet Lounge is a misnomer, as it is exclusively for dogs and no other pets are permitted. It's a bright, pleasant place full of wipe-clean surfaces and useful carabiners under the tables to which you can clip the dog's lead. There's a dedicated lift up from the car deck if you are parked at the Calais end of the vessel, which we were not, and there is also an accessible toilet. Your £12 supplement includes complimentary water, Pepsi, tea and bean-to-cup coffee. There is a vending machine selling crisps and snacks. In the lounge there are screened-off private areas to help reactive dogs relax, but there are also some more open seating areas so that more sociable doggies can make friends. Outside is the dedicated outdoor space, where there is a toilet area, hoses to wash down any tiddles, lampposts for leaving pea mail, but no artificial turf as there was with Stenaline. You'll also find seating areas outside for nicer days than this one. The ship was jam-packed, and it was apparent that the doors to the Pet Lounge, which should have only opened to ticket holders, were broken, allowing all and sundry to come in and help themselves to free drinks. The crew member who checked our tickets vanished when we left the port. The toing and froing upset some of the more sensitive dogs, and we were about halfway through the voyage when a staff member finally turned up to do a ticket check and evict those who weren't meant to be in there. But ideally, P&O should just get the door fixed. I left Dougal and Ted under the care of the lovely people in the next booth while I went and did a duty-free price check in the huge duty-free shop. 1 litre of Absolute vodka was $14.79 on P&O, where it was £13 in the DFDS shop in Calais. 1 litre of Tanqueray gin was $15.99 on P&O compared to $13.99 in the DFDS shop in Calais, but Glenmorangie 10-year was a bargain, £36.15 a litre on board P&O, where it was $44.99 in the DFDS duty-free shop. P&O certainly has become more competitive as regards duty-free pricing than it used to be. Overall, the crossing was fine, and while some people refused to travel with P&O on moral grounds after the way the company treated its staff a few years back, the fact remains it's the only ferry company out of Dover where you don't have to leave your dog in the car. However, while the Liberté and the Pioneer are stunning ships, they have one massive and very important design flaw. There are only two narrow stairways down to the car decks, one at each end of the ship. This makes returning to your vehicle a long-winded, stressful and miserable experience. Tempers frayed as able-bodied teenagers packed out the lifts, denying them to mothers with buggies and those less able to use the stairs. We did not use the lift down from the pet lounge as we were parked right at the other end of the ship, and we all know how close they park the cars together on the car deck. What was even more stressful was knowing that my car was right at the front, blocking in everyone behind me. I ended up having to carry both Dougal and Ted, who were getting stressed beyond measure, and it was this experience alone that would lead me to recommending a pet-friendly cabin with Stena Line over and above travelling with P&O. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the Caravan and Motorhome Club for supporting our trip to Caravan Salon Düsseldorf and for providing this ferry crossing to allow me to make this video for you. Booking your overseas trip through the Caravan and Motorhome Club will often save more than the cost of your membership fee, so do check out the club. I'll leave a link in the description below. So there you have it. I hope you found these two videos about pet-friendly ferry travel, try saying that when you've had too many Tanquerays, useful, and I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, you know what to do. Please give them a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already, and it just leaves me to say, from Ted, from Dougal, and from me, thanks for tuning in.